If you're over 60 and you've noticed your skin doesn't bounce back the way it used to, that a crease stays a little longer, that your skin feels thinner on the back of your hands, you're not imagining it. That's a real, measurable biological process. Collagen, the protein that acts like scaffolding under your skin, declines with age. That part isn't a myth, and it isn't marketing, it's basic dermatology. What I want to talk about today is one very specific, very popular claim that adding a particular ingredient to your water can activate collagen and help with wrinkles. You've probably seen the headlines. Vitamin C powder in water, lemon water, collagen peptides stirred into a glass first thing in the morning. Some of these claims are wildly overstated, but underneath the hype, there is real research done by real universities and published in real medical journals on how this actually works, what it can plausibly do, and just as importantly, what it can't. I spent time this week actually pulling the studies instead of just repeating what other videos say. Some of what I found surprised me. Some of it will probably disappoint you if you were hoping for a miracle fix, but I think you deserve the honest version, especially if you're on medication or managing a health condition, because some of this is not as harmless as "it's just water" makes it sound. So let's actually go through it. What collagen loss really looks like after 60, what the vitamin C research shows, what the collagen in water trend shows, and where the evidence runs out and the marketing takes over. I'm not a doctor, I'm a researcher and content creator who reads studies for a living on this channel, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what I found, with the sources named at the end, so you can go check every claim yourself. That's the whole point of this channel, not to sell you something, but to help you tell the difference between what's proven and what's just repeated a lot. Let's get into it. Part 1. What actually happens to your skin's collagen after 60? Let's start with what's genuinely well established, because you should know the baseline before we talk about any intervention. Collagen is the most abundant protein in your body. According to Mayo Clinic, it makes up roughly 30% of your total body protein, forming the structural network in your skin, tendons, bones, and organs. In skin specifically, collagen is what gives you that firm, bounce-back quality. When it declines, skin gets thinner, less elastic, and more prone to visible lines. Here's the part that matters for anyone over 60. This decline doesn't start at 60. According to information summarized by the Cleveland Clinic, collagen production begins slowing in your mid-20s, and by around age 40, many people are losing roughly 1% of their collagen per year. That roughly 1% a year figure shows up consistently across dermatology sources discussing this topic, though it's worth being honest that it's a commonly cited approximation, rather than a number that applies identically to every person. Collagen loss is affected by genetics, sun exposure, smoking, hormone changes, and diet, so it's not a strict universal clock. For women specifically, there's a well-documented acceleration around menopause, when declining estrogen speeds up collagen loss for several years. That's a real hormonally driven event, not a vitamin deficiency. And it's worth mentioning because a lot of collagen crash marketing quietly skips over the fact that hormones, and not hydration, are doing most of the driving during that window. So by the time you're past 60, you're dealing with decades of a slow compounding decline, on top of whatever sun exposure, smoking history, or other factors have accelerated it further. That's the real starting point. Anyone telling you a wrinkle is going to fully reverse from a lifestyle tweak is skipping over 4 decades of biology. What's realistic is supporting the processes that are still running. And that's where vitamin C actually has a genuine, well-documented role, which is different from claiming it can activate collagen out of nowhere. Here's the mechanism, and this part is genuinely solid science, not speculation. Your body doesn't build collagen in one simple step. It has to take amino acids and stitch them into that triple helix structure that gives collagen its strength. One of the essential steps in that process is called hydroxylation, and vitamin C is a required cofactor for the enzymes that do it. Without enough vitamin C, your body's collagen-building machinery genuinely can't finish the job properly. This isn't a fringe claim. It's described plainly by the Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University, a well-respected micronutrient research center, which states that vitamin C is essential both as an antioxidant for skin and as a required factor for collagen synthesis, specifically through this hydroxylation step. So when people say vitamin C activates collagen, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but it's not pulled out of thin air. Vitamin C is a necessary ingredient in a chemical reaction your skin cells are already running. If you're deficient in vitamin C, that reaction doesn't run well. That's real. Here's where it gets more interesting and more recent. A study out of the University of Otago in New Zealand, published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology, a legitimate peer-reviewed dermatology journal, looked at what happens when people increase their dietary vitamin C intake rather than applying it topically. The researchers found that when participants increased vitamin C intake from food, that vitamin C showed up in the skin itself and was associated with increased skin thickness, which researchers used as an indicator of collagen production, as well as faster turnover of skin cells. I want to be upfront about the limitations here, because a lot of videos on this topic won't tell you this part. This study was conducted on a small group, around 24 healthy adults across New Zealand and Germany, and it was partly funded by a kiwi fruit company, since kiwi fruit was the vitamin C source used in the trial. That doesn't mean the science is fake. It was still published in a peer-reviewed journal and run out of a university medical faculty. But it does mean this is an early, small-scale finding, not a massive, independently repeated body of evidence. Science reporters covering it described it as landmark for this specific research question, meaning it's one of the first studies to link dietary vitamin C intake directly to measurable skin changes, but first of its kind and definitively proven are two different things. And I'd rather tell you that up front than let you think this is settled science. Separately, the Linus Pauling Institute's review of the broader vitamin C and skin literature notes something important. While vitamin C clearly plays this structural role in collagen synthesis, the human research on whether oral vitamin C supplementation measurably improves visible wrinkles is more limited than the research on vitamin C's role in wound healing and antioxidant protection. In other words, the biochemistry is well understood. Vitamin C is required for the process, but the leap from required for the process to supplementing beyond your needs will visibly erase wrinkles is not something the current human research fully supports yet. So where does that leave us? Vitamin C appears to be genuinely important for the process your skin uses to build collagen, and there's early evidence that increasing your intake, especially if you're not getting much Ike, may support skin thickness and renewal. That's meaningfully different from a magic bullet claim. It's necessary ingredient with some early supportive evidence, not proven wrinkle eraser. Before I get into the specific dosage numbers and the collagen powder trend, I want to pause here for a second, because I think this is actually the most useful moment in the video. I'd like to know where you're starting from. Down in the comments, tell me, are you already getting a decent amount of vitamin C in your regular diet? Citrus, peppers, broccoli, berries? Or is this something you honestly don't think about much? I ask because the research we just went through points to something pretty unglamorous. This seems to matter most for people whose intake is on the lower side to begin with, not people already eating plenty of vitamin C-rich foods. Knowing where you're starting changes what, if anything, is actually worth doing here. So drop a comment and let's get into the numbers. Let's get concrete, because this is where a lot of channels either say nothing useful or say something reckless. According to the National Institutes of Health's Office of Dietary Supplements, and independently confirmed by Mayo Clinic, the standard recommended daily amount of vitamin C for adults is 90 milligrams for men and 75 milligrams for women. Both of those sources also state that the tolerable upper limit, the amount you shouldn't exceed on a regular basis, is 2,000 milligrams a day from all sources combined, food and supplements together. Past that upper limit, both sources note you start running into a real risk of digestive upset, diarrhea, nausea, stomach cramps. Mayo Clinic also specifically flags that very high doses can occasionally contribute to kidney stones in susceptible people. So when a video title says, "Add this to your water," and what's being sold is a vitamin C powder packet, here's the honest picture. Getting your baseline vitamin C need met is genuinely useful and well supported for overall health, including skin health, especially if your current diet is light on fruits and vegetables. But megadosing well past what your body needs isn't shown to give proportionally more collagen benefit. The studies on skin collagen were mostly looking at bringing intake up to adequate to good levels, not blasting past the upper limit. More is not automatically better here, and past a certain point it's just expensive urine, and for some people, stomach discomfort. There's also an important safety note that gets skipped constantly in this kind of content. The NIH's own consumer fact sheet specifically warns that high-dose vitamin C supplements can interact with certain medications, and that people with a condition called hemochromatosis, where the body stores too much iron to buy, should be cautious with high-dose vitamin C because it can increase iron absorption and worsen iron overload. The same fact sheet also flags that people undergoing cancer treatment should talk to their oncologist before adding high-dose vitamin C, since there's ongoing uncertainty about how it interacts with certain therapies. None of this means vitamin C is dangerous at normal levels. It's genuinely one of the safer nutrients to get more of, but safer than most isn't the same as no reason to check with your doctor, especially if you're over 60 and managing blood pressure medication, blood thinners, kidney issues, or any chronic condition. A 2-minute question to your pharmacist or doctor costs you nothing and rules out a genuinely low but real risk. As for the literal in-water part, does dissolving vitamin C powder or squeezing lemon into your water do anything special compared to eating vitamin C-rich food? Not particularly, according to the research we have. Vitamin C is water-soluble either way, and your body absorbs it from food or from a dissolved supplement through basically the same pathway. The Otago study notably used whole kiwi fruit, food, not a powder and water. So the in-your-water framing is really more about convenience and habit forming. It's an easy way to remember to get a nutrient in than about some special mechanism that only works when it's dissolved in a glass of water specifically. I'd be doing you a disservice if I only talked about vitamin C, because a huge amount of add this to your water content is actually about collagen peptide powder, the flavorless powder people stir into coffee or water. So let's look at that evidence too, because it's a genuinely different category of claim. Unlike vitamin C, which your body needs as a cofactor, collagen peptides are pre-broken down collagen protein that you drink, in the hope that some of it reaches your skin and either gets used as raw material or signals your own fibroblast cells to make more collagen. The research base here is actually larger than I expected going in. A systematic review referenced across multiple recent papers, one summarizing 11 studies with over 800 participants combined, found benefits for skin elasticity, hydration, and collagen density in people taking oral collagen supplements compared to placebo. Other systematic reviews I found, including ones published in outlets like the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition and reviewed through the Cochrane Library's trial database, describe a similar pattern: multiple randomized, placebo-controlled trials, the kind of study design that's genuinely good evidence, not just anecdote, showing improvements in skin hydration, elasticity, and in some cases wrinkle depth, typically over periods of 8 to 12 weeks of daily use. I want to be careful and specific here because there's a lot of research doesn't automatically mean it's settled. A few honest caveats that keep showing up when researchers themselves review this literature. First, many of these trials are relatively small, commonly somewhere between a few dozen and a couple hundred participants, and study quality varies. One systematic review I found specifically noted that dose, participant age range, and study length differ a lot from trial to trial, which makes it harder to say definitively, take exactly this amount for exactly this long. Second, a lot of these studies are funded by the companies that make the collagen product being tested, which is worth knowing, even when the trials themselves are well designed and peer-reviewed. That's a real conflict of interest consideration, not an accusation of fraud. It just means independent replication matters more. Third, and Mayo Clinic makes this point directly in a public Q&A on the topic. Despite the growing number of trials, Mayo Clinic's own summary states plainly that it remains unclear whether taking collagen orally through diet or supplements is actually beneficial, and notes that when you eat collagen, whether from a powder or from food like bone broth or gelatin, your digestive system breaks it down into individual amino acids just like any other protein, at which point your body decides where to send those amino acids. There's no guarantee they get funneled specifically back into rebuilding collagen in your face rather than being used elsewhere in the body. So here's the fair, balanced version. There is a real and growing body of placebo-controlled human research suggesting oral collagen peptides can modestly improve skin hydration and elasticity, and some studies show improvement in wrinkle measurements, typically over 2 to 3 months of consistent daily use. That's more evidence than a lot of supplement trends have behind them, but it's not universally settled. A major medical center like Mayo Clinic is still describing the overall picture as unclear, and the effect sizes in these trials are generally modest, not dramatic transformations. If you try it, a realistic expectation is possibly somewhat more hydrated, slightly more elastic-feeling skin after a couple of months, not wrinkles eliminated. One more honest note. Several of the higher quality trials used collagen combined with vitamin C specifically, not collagen alone, which actually lines back up with the biology from part 2, since vitamin C is the cofactor your body needs to do anything useful with those collagen-building amino acids in the first place. So if there's a version of add this to your water that has the most research support behind it, it may be less about one single miracle ingredient and more about the combination, so adequate vitamin C plus adequate protein building blocks, rather than either one alone being a standalone fix. Since the whole premise here is add it to your water, I think it's worth directly addressing the water part, because there's a widespread assumption that drinking more water directly plumps your skin and reduces wrinkles. The research on this is more mixed than most wellness content admits. A review out of a medical center in Israel, discussed by health outlets covering the dermatology literature, found surprisingly little rigorous research directly testing whether drinking more water changes skin wrinkles or smoothness. What research does exist shows a fairly consistent pattern. People who start out mildly dehydrated or who habitually drink very little water may see modest improvements in skin hydration and thickness when they increase intake. But for people who are already adequately hydrated, drinking additional water on top of that doesn't appear to produce further visible improvement. Dermatologists quoted across multiple sources make the point that your skin's outer barrier and topical moisturizers matter more for surface hydration than how much water you drink. Board-certified dermatologists quoted in several of these pieces are fairly blunt about this. The idea that water intake alone will shrink pores, smooth wrinkles, or detox your skin isn't well supported. Wrinkles are primarily driven by collagen and elastin changes, sun damage, and structural aging, not by how many glasses of water you drank that day. So the honest takeaway, Staying adequately hydrated is good for your overall health, and if you're someone who genuinely doesn't drink much fluid day to day, increasing your water intake may modestly help skin hydration. But water itself is not the active ingredient doing anything to your collagen. It's really just the delivery vehicle for whatever you're adding to it, which loops us back to vitamin C and collagen peptides as the parts actually doing biological work. Let me try to pull this together into something genuinely useful rather than just a list of caveats. If you're over 60 and thinking about this trend, here's a fair summary of where the evidence actually lands. Getting adequate vitamin C, ideally from food like citrus, peppers, berries, and broccoli, and if needed, from a modest supplement in the range of the recommended daily amounts rather than a megadose, supports a biological process your skin genuinely depends on for building collagen. There's early, promising, but still limited human research suggesting this may translate into modestly better skin thickness and renewal, particularly if your current intake is on the low side. Collagen peptide powder has a larger body of placebo-controlled human research behind it than most supplement trends, with multiple studies showing modest improvements in skin hydration and elasticity over roughly 2 to 3 months of daily use. Though major institutions like Mayo Clinic still describe the overall evidence as unresolved, and effect sizes are modest, not dramatic. Plain water itself doesn't appear to be doing much biologically beyond keeping you generally hydrated, unless you were previously underhydrated. None of this replaces sun protection, which is repeatedly named across dermatology sources, including Cleveland Clinic, as one of the biggest controllable factors in collagen preservation, since UV exposure actively breaks down collagen through processes your body then has to fight against. If you're doing one thing for your skin after 60, daily sunscreen has more consistent evidence behind it than almost anything you'd put in your water. And critically, if you're on blood pressure medication, blood thinners, diabetes medication, have kidney issues, or manage any chronic condition, please talk to your doctor or pharmacist before adding any new supplement, including something that sounds as harmless as vitamin C in water. High-dose vitamin C can interact with certain medications and lab tests, and even collagen supplements, while generally well tolerated, aren't something everyone should assume is automatically fine to layer onto existing prescriptions without a quick check. This isn't fear-mongering. It's the same standard advice the NIH and Mayo Clinic themselves give, and it takes 5 minutes to ask. Here's what I hope you take away from this. The biology behind vitamin C and collagen is real. It's not marketing fluff. It's basic biochemistry that's been understood for decades. The newer research on dietary vitamin C and skin, and on collagen peptides, is genuinely encouraging in places, especially the placebo-controlled human trials on collagen peptides. But genuinely encouraging early research and guaranteed wrinkle eraser are two very different claims, and I think you deserve to know which one you're actually getting when a video promises the second one. If you decide to try adding vitamin C or collagen peptides to your water, do it because the underlying research is reasonably solid and the risk is generally low for most healthy adults. Not because it's going to erase 40 years of collagen decline in a few weeks. And if you're managing any health condition or taking medication, loop your doctor in first. That one step turns probably fine into actually confirmed fine for you specifically, which is worth a lot more. If you found this kind of honest, source-checked breakdown useful, let me know in the comments and tell me what other viral health trend you'd like me to actually fact-check next. I'll pull the real studies, tell you what's solid, what's shaky, and what's just marketing, same as today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.